women founders and startups do far more with less money.
So why do you think women in particular make really good investors?
90% of this game is two things. One, it's showing up, and two, it's managing your mindset.
I love this for the ladies who have no idea where to even start, because there's all these communities already out there. And even if you don't join the community, like you said, partner with someone who has, and that's it, you're in. Hi, ladies. Do you want to get into real estate investing, but you don't know how? Or maybe it's a little bit daunting to get into it yourself? Well, I have an amazing guest with us here today. Her name is Veena Jetti, and she manages over $550 million worth of real estate investments. So we are so excited to have her here today so she can tell us a little bit about how she does real estate investing, why, her process, and how you can do it too. So thank you so much, Veena, for being here. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Great. So let's just get right into it. How did you get into this line of work and why?
Yeah. So I went to college for finance. My degree was in finance, and I come from a real estate family. My mom is actually a successful single family investor. My parents had never owned multifamily. They, like me, they didn't know you could own multifamily if you weren't like a billionaire, right? And, I'm the daughter of two immigrants, so they scraped and saved and invested very carefully and were very diligent about what they did. And my mom bought single family homes. I went to college. My degree was in finance. And then my mom was like, great, now you can come work for the family business and it'll be amazing. And I was like, I'm an adult, Mom, because I was all of 20 years old, and it's like, I have a degree. I don't need to come work for you. I'm going to do something totally different and revolutionary. And then I went into the corporate workforce and worked at real estate companies. So I made a lot of money for other people. I helped manage, I had multiple portfolios in California and then later in DC. And the first year my husband and I paid taxes as a married couple, we paid like $200,000 in taxes or something. This was 12 years ago. So that was like significantly more money back then too. And I was like, oh my gosh. I called my mom and I was like, Mom, this is crazy. I've never paid this much in taxes. She's like, well, congratulations, because you make a lot of money, but also quit your job. And I was like, what do you mean? I was at a multi-billion-dollar company, like real estate company, a very stable job. And she said, well, listen, the IRS does not reward you for being an employee. They reward you for being an owner and for being a real estate professional. So quit your job, go and start investing yourself, get the full-time real estate professional designation, and you won't have to pay that much in taxes, if anything. So it's like, okay, it seems legit. And I quit and I started buying single family homes and realized I couldn't get to scale. There's no way I could have owned $550 million of single family homes. And so then I started buying multifamily and I never looked back after that.
That is amazing that your parents, because I also come from parents that are immigrants, they told you to quit your job, because most immigrant families, they are like, nope, you need security, you need stability, you need a good job.
Yes.
So that's amazing that they did actually give you that advice and support you that way, because
Totally.
It really changed your life.
It really did. I was very lucky. Very lucky.
That's amazing. So why do you think women in particular make really good investors?
Oh gosh, so many reasons. Well, one, it's because they don't have the same ego, right, that a lot of our male counterparts do. Not all, but some, right? And I think too, the way I see women show up so often is they go, oh, well, I don't know about that, or I'm not qualified for that. And I just think that's so far from the truth and the reality, because everything shows, if you look at the numbers, right, and Silicon Valley is a really great place to look at this, women founders and startups do far more with less money. The reason for that is they kind of have to. No one invests in women-owned companies. Less than 2% of VC funding goes to women-owned companies. So that means that women just have less opportunity and they have less ability to get that outside funding. And so they have to bootstrap more. They have to be more creative. They have to make their dollar go so much further than men do, because men get so much more money given to them when they're starting up companies. And so, and I think honestly, women have always been underestimated and underestimate themselves of how smart they are. And I think about especially like moms, right? I think they are absolutely a superpower that a lot of the workforce has not really tapped into yet. But if you think about what mothers do, they shape the next generation of society. And yes, like my husband's a very hands-on dad, so he's definitely a part of that. But it's a different type of nurturing. It's a different type of investment into the next generation, a different type of molding that happens when it's mom and child, right? But then they also make sure that the house is clean and that the kids are fed and that everybody is taken care of. Mom's needs always come last. There's never a moment where I'm like, oh, I have a free hour. Let me just take care of myself right now, because I'm like, oh, okay, my kids need new shoe sizes. My husband said he was going to do this. Let me follow up and make sure that got done. Or maybe I can fill it in. And then I need to reschedule the doctor's appointment and I have to do this and that. And so we do all of the mental and emotional labor of the household, what we call invisible labor. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is a skill set that you can't quite quantify it, but in a workforce, it's absolutely valuable and absolutely useful, because it's like the things that no one else can see. Women and mothers see those things because they're so used to seeing them.
Yes, we're used to balancing a million things in our head at one time.
All the things. And making sure everyone's happy about it too.
Yes. And I think we are so undervalued, like you said. So if you don't have a finance degree, let's say, like you do, what would you recommend that women who want to start investing, like what should they go learn first?
Yeah. Okay. So I think like I got a degree. I'm an elder millennial. I graduated from college like 15 years ago. So it's been, actually, no, it's been longer than that. Oh my gosh, I'm so old.
It's okay. I'm an elder millennial too, girl.
It's like 17 years ago.
You try not to think about the numbers anymore.
It was basically like yesterday I graduated with my degree. Let's go with that storyline.
Okay.
But so I did get my degree, but I will tell you, everything I've learned about real estate, none of it was from anything my degree taught me. What college I think was really good for back then, and I don't value college the same way I did back then. I know it's like blasphemous as an Indian American to say this.
I'm on the same page.
Yeah, because it's like back then, you used to be able to graduate from college and still get a good paying job and pay down your student debt. Now it's astronomical to go to college. And then you come out with significantly more debt than we did when we graduated, right? And then your job, you have no stability and you maybe aren't making enough to live comfortably. Inflation is crazy. And then you have to pay your student loan debt on top of that. It's very, very expensive. So if you're going to go to college, make sure it is for something that you actually can use and you absolutely need to go in order to get to where you're trying to go. So like if you want to be a doctor, yeah, you do need to go to college. You can't like YouTube university your way there, or you shouldn't YouTube university that's goal. Let me put it that way. So for people that are looking to go into real estate specifically, I learned way more from experience, connections, networking, and free resources than I have ever learned in my 4-year college degree. Now, there are certain things which I do think are useful, and I do think everybody should have some basic financial knowledge. You can go to a community college and get those resources. You can go to an online university. You don't have to go to like Harvard or Wharton to learn about P&Ls, to learn about balance sheets, to learn about basic like accounting GAAP principles. Like you don't need to go to a 4-year Ivy League school to learn that. You can go online and get that for a few $100s. So that's number one. Number two, now more than ever, there are so many educational programs, mentorships, communities you can join where all of the information is streamlined for you. And so I started the Multify community. It's less than a year old. It is a community. It is not a replacement for college or anything like that, but it will give you the basics that you need to go out and start doing multifamily deals, building a business, building your brand. It's all encompassing. It's not just multifamily focused at this point. But there are a lot of places you can go like that. Sub 2 is another one, right? If you want to learn how to buy single family homes, and there's like a million of these out there. Or there's Jerry Norton has his flipping mastery mentorship. Jamil Damji has his astro flipping. So there's just like a million places you can go. But I think the hardest thing to manage, and this is, I think, a universal truth, the hardest real estate that you could ever hope to manage, no matter where you are, where you're starting, or where you're going, is the 6 inches right here. It's managing your brain. Your mindset is the toughest piece of real estate you will ever manage. So, I work with Rosie Noel. She's an executive coach, a high performance coach. She's also a Clifton Strengths expert, which if you haven't done your Clifton Strengths, you absolutely should. Her Insta is the Rosie Noel on Insta.
Okay.
I coach with her at a minimum twice a week. And that's how much energy and effort I put into managing my mind and my thoughts and my abundance mindset. All of these things, I spend so much energy on that, more energy than managing any asset I've ever managed, because that allows me to show up better and manage my real estate better.
I love that you're so transparent about that, because
Oh,
I think a lot of women see you and they're like, she's so confident, she knows what she's doing. Like, but you're saying no, like I also have freakouts. Like I have a coach that helps me through it. So
all the time. I have multiple coaches. So I also coach with a man by the name of Andreas. He's Andreas, the CEO on Instagram. Okay. He has completely altered the course of how I think and how I show up. He's a leadership and EQ coach, and he has an ADAPT framework that he uses, and it will completely change the way you think. And for anyone that thinks I have all my stuff together and that I am very confident, that is such a big lie. It could not be further from the truth. I struggle with confidence and imposter syndrome on a daily basis. It's just the reality of it. So if you think that you're going to get to a certain level of success or achievement and imposter syndrome is going to go away, it's not. At least it doesn't at $1 billion in transactions. I can confidently say that. So it is not going to go away, because someone who's confident enough or who is good enough or works hard enough to get to $1 billion in transactions like I did, you're not going to ever be comfortable staying small and not growing. So what happens is you really master one thing, and then you get into the next room and you reach that next level. And in that next level, you're again uncomfortable. You're again doing things that you're not sure about, and you're growing again. Every time we grow, that's when we feel uncomfortable.
That's great advice. So would you say that someone should just focus on one aspect first? Like, let's say they just want to do multify. Should they just focus on that, master that before they move on to something else? Because you gave us so many resources and so many different types of investing. So like, what would you recommend?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is absolutely what you're saying. Pick a lane. It is very easy to get shiny object syndrome in real estate. Yeah. Everybody that's achieved the highest levels of success did it with one product, one field, one strategy, mastered that, and then diversified. I'm no exception to that, right? I did really well in single family, realized I couldn't get to the scale I wanted, moved to multifamily, and went all in on multifamily. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would have just started with multifamily. I just didn't know that people like me could own multifamily. I didn't know you could own multifamily without having millions of dollars. Like, I didn't know you could buy multifamily with no money. And now I know that, obviously. So I would, if I knew then what I know now, I would have just started with multifamily. So pick a lane, and it doesn't matter what it is, because there are people who are successful owning land and doing RV parks and multifamily and single family homes and Airbnb. It doesn't matter. You can make money in every single aspect of real estate. Where you don't make money is when you become a jack of all trades, master of none. and you never really fully grasp any one of them. So find your niche that you want, your asset class. So let's say it's multifamily, because obviously it's the best asset class. But let's say it's multifamily, right? Even within multifamily, there's so many ways to make money there, right? Like you could be a broker, you could be a general partner, you could be a limited partner, you could do development, you could do class B, you could do core plus. Like there's a million ways that you can invest in multifamily even. You could do creative and seller finance deals. So find the people that are doing the thing you want to be doing and figure out how to add value to them. And what I mean by that is don't go to them and say, hey, Veena, I really love what you're doing. How can I add value to you? That doesn't actually add value to me. That takes value from me, because now you're asking me to use my mental capacity to solve the problem of what I need that you specifically can provide, when I don't really know that much about what you do, who you are, right? So the people that have been the most successful at making these relationships with me, at least, are the people that go, hey, Veena, I saw you had this challenge in your business. I'm really good at that thing. I have solved it for you to show you I want to partner on future deals in this capacity. Amazing. Then I know exactly what you're capable of. I know you're someone who does what they say they're going to do. You can identify problems and you can solve them without me. I'm in. But when someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm a capital raiser, would love to partner with you. How can I do that? I don't know. Who are your investors? Are they accredited? Do you know anything about my deals? Do your investors meet the buy criteria that I use for my investors? How do you want to structure it? Have you ever raised capital before? What happens if you can't? Like, there's so many questions I have beyond that it's not just a simple offering of value. So find the people who you want to partner with and who you want to do deals with, or who have been where you're going, and figure out how to get in their proximity, be in their world. Being around them will be enough for you to shift your mindset and start getting further and further into whatever it is you're trying to do. Because 90% of this game is two things. One, it's showing up, and two, it's managing your mindset.
Great advice. And I think that works with everything in life, not just
100%.
real estate investing. Like, get around the people who are doing what you want to do, get proximity to them, and add value to them.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times there's this misconception that, because we have a paid community, that you have to be able to afford getting into a paid community. And that's not true. I mean, I know I put out a ton of free content, like for days. I spend days recording free content so that people who can't access the Multify community can still access content. Like if you go to veenajetti.com and you're interested in multifamily, I have an entire free masterclass that I recorded with Pace, and you can access that. You can watch it. It's like 9 hours of just totally free content. So there's so many different resources. YouTube is full of free resources. My Instagram, my TikTok, we put out so many things that there's nobody that can ever come to me and say, you don't give any value for free. I give more value for free than anything else. So go find those things. If you don't want to invest in yourself, or you can't invest in yourself, go find those and take one step every day to be better.
Yeah. There's no shortage of money out there, and there's no shortage of information. You just have to want to find it.
100%.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your process when you're finding these investments? Like, do you have a team? Like, how does that work?
Oh yeah, we have a whole team. So we do a lot of deals on market, or if they're off market, they're usually a relationship that we have with the seller of the deal. So when we are buying our assets, we go through many, many, many versions of underwriting and checks and balances before we actually get a deal. I'd say we look at anywhere from 800 to 900 deals before there's one deal that makes sense. And there was a time where it was like 100 to 200 deals. And the thing people need to understand about multifamily is this is a build wealth slow game. It is not a get rich quick type of operation. So if you're looking for today money, multifamily is very tough to do that in. But if you're looking for generational wealth and legacy money, multifamily is the right move. So with that, I start by, we get deals coming into us either from contacts or brokers. and I say I, but it's not me. It's actually our team. I don't touch the deal until it's way further in the process. So they'll look at it and they'll initially say yes or no. If they say yes, then we move to the next phase. Then we do back of the envelope underwriting. If the back of the envelope underwriting is still looking good or close to our metric or return requirements for our investors, then we move to the next phase. Then we go through maybe like 3 or 4 different versions of underwriting. Then we submit an LOI, a letter of intent, with our initial offer. Then we go into the best and final round. Then usually we have some kind of interview. But this is all my team doing this at this point. And then when it gets far enough and it looks like we're going to be able to get the deal under contract, that's where we come in. Actually, right before LOI, we'll come in once to kind of oversee it. It'll either be, myself, my sister, my JV partner. One of us will look at it and make some adjustments and fine tuning. And then in best and final is where we really have a heavier hand in the underwriting. And that's where we really decide like, okay, are we going to go for it or not go for it? We finish negotiating that. And then we start going to the PSA negotiations process, which our attorneys, manage the bulk of that. But that's our general process on how we acquire a deal.
Okay. So when you first started out though, like 10 years ago, let's say.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't have a huge team. How did you start?
So when I did everything, I did have partners who were better at underwriting than me. I don't like underwriting. I'm not great at it. I'm really good at coming in and manipulating underwriting once it's done. And I recognize that this is a problem for a lot of people who are like me and just are like, no, thank you. I don't want to underwrite. It's boring. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. So one, you can partner with people who can underwrite, right? So if you're someone that's really good at raising capital or managing assets, you can find someone who's really good at acquisitions and underwriting. So that's the easiest hurdle. And that's what I did initially in the beginning is I partnered with people who could underwrite. And because I recognize it's a problem, like in the Multify community, people have been asking me to teach underwriting. And I'm like, you really don't want me to teach underwriting because I'm not very good at it. So now what we do is I've hired 2 underwriters and every week they each do 3 hours of calls. So every week there are 6 hours of underwriting calls that someone in our community can attend. So people who cannot afford to or don't want to or aren't in the Multify community, I tell them all the time, I'm like, go find someone who is in the Multify community already and who already has these resources at their fingertips and partner up with them, because then they can take the deal that you want to work on together and they can bring it to the underwriting calls. And it's the easiest hack. It's the shortcut to doing it. So if I could go back, that's absolutely what I would have done. I would have either joined a community, and it doesn't have to be Multify. It could be anything, right? There's so many communities that offer this. I would have either joined one of those communities, or if I couldn't see the value or I wasn't ready to invest in myself or invest into something like that, then I would have partnered with someone who was doing it because they're already where I want to go and they can give me the resources that I need.
Yeah. And I think it's really valuable that you did do everything at the beginning, even though you recognize like, I'm not good at this. I think that's so much value because you're like, I'm definitely delegating this and I'm going to take on this. I'm really good at this, and you can really partner with people more easily that way once you know what you like, 100%. What you're good at versus just kind of like shooting an arrow in the dark.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
So yes, that's such great advice. I love this for the ladies who have no idea where to even start because there's all these communities already out there. And even if you don't join the community, like you said, partner with someone who has, and that's it. You're in.
It's so easy. Like you can have proximity, power by proximity then. And this happens a lot. Like I have a lot of people who are in the community and their partners aren't. And there's no sweat off my back. That's better for me because it makes our community more powerful.
Right. And you guys do events and things. There's a lot of ways to also, meet in person. So it's a great.
Yeah, we do a lot of free meetups. And a lot of it is just hanging out with our friends that also have an interest in real estate. But I tell people, I'm like, if you want like FaceTime or you want, show up to the conference, come to the thing that's like a couple $100 or $1,000 to get there. Show up to that, make connections there. We all are at those conferences. I spend a lot of time in the hallways just for this reason, to make sure I'm accessible to people who might not otherwise have access and need something from me. I host a lot of, like tomorrow, we're doing a community meetup. I'm taking my kids to the food truck festival. And I was like, let's just invite the community. So now anybody that's in the community or anybody that's in the free Facebook group, we sent out an email and said, hey, come meet us, come hang out, bring your family. We're just going to spend a Saturday morning together. And we do this often.
That's awesome. So I love that you mentioned your kids and they're in the ecosystem. So how are you teaching them about investing? I'm asking for a friend. No,
yes, of
I
course.
have 2 kids too. And I want to teach them, from a young age, because we're not learning this in school.
Yeah. So you were at Squad Up. I don't know if you heard me speak or not, but I said I have 3 goals for my kids every day when they walk out of the door. Learn something, help someone, and fail at something. The most important one to me is the failing at something, because I want them to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I want them to accept that discomfort is the thing to celebrate, not comfort. We obviously celebrate their win, but I don't actually, like, when my kids do something really great at school, or like they're learning how to read right now. So I don't go, oh my gosh, good job. You are so smart. I say, oh my gosh, good job. I can see you working so hard to learn how to read, and it's really paying off because now you're able to read, and I'm so proud of you for that. So I never compliment the innate quality, and they are smart. They're just very smart children. I never compliment them on being smart. I compliment them on working hard. I compliment them on the action it took for them to get there. Yeah. So I'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You really took some time and you listened to what mommy had to say. And then you went out and you implemented it. And whenever they fail, so like one of my daughters is really good at the monkey bars, and they're twins. So there's a lot of like weird comparison pressure that they have. I don't put it on them. They put it on themselves. And so Veena, she's my more physical daughter. She doesn't really care about reading. She doesn't care about any of the academic stuff, but she really loves to like run and jump and climb. And she's great at the monkey bars now. Her sister Veena, who's a little bit smaller than her, and she's still like physically, she has a lot of upper body strength, but it isn't quite tall enough to have the wingspan to get to the next monkey bar. So she keeps trying and she keeps failing. She's like, but Sissy can do the monkey bars. I'm like, yes. But Sissy's abilities are different than yours. And Sissy has worked really hard to get there. She couldn't do the monkey bars when she first tried too, but she kept working, and now she can do them because she tried so hard and she kept trying. And Veena she's a little mini version of me. And she's like, no, but I should be able to do it too. And I'm like, yeah. And so whenever she tries the monkey bars and she doesn't do it because she just physically can't yet, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was the best thing ever. I'm so proud of you, because it's so much harder to just try it than to actually do it. And eventually you'll be able to do it, but I'm just so excited. And I make it like level 10 excitement, celebrating her effort and her failure. And I'm like, let's do a happy dance because you failed at something and now you met your goal for today. And I can't wait for you to get up and try to fail again at this tomorrow. And it's not because she's going to fail forever. Eventually, she's going to be able to do it. But it's that she's trying and she's celebrating the effort that she made, not the outcome of her effort.
How different would we all be if we had a mom like you? Or if they did that in school instead of just, berating us for failing, actually saying, no, you have to fail to succeed. Like, it's just part of the journey. You have to.
100%. And I try to tell them stories about like how I failed too. I'm like, look, mommy I really can't do the monkey bars anymore because it takes like a lot of upper body strength, which I realize I don't have anymore. But I've tried. It is hard. And I'm like, look, mommy can't do it, but I'm going to try because I see you trying. And I'm not winning the mom game. I'm pretty confident about this. This is like one area I'm winning at, and that's it. So, momming is hard.
The perfect mom. There just isn't. And there's no such thing as balance, especially if you're a working mom. It just doesn't exist. We do our best. But I think just that, in a sense, like they see you working, they see you doing things that are hard. They see you, being successful. That's a lesson in itself. Like, you don't even have to do anything. Just be you.
I hope so, because this is the worry I always have is like, it's so hard having kids because it's like, am I totally ruining them? And I have to wait like 18 years to find out if I ruined them. Like, that's a long time for me to figure that out. So yeah, that's
So
always the
you'd
constant
already
work.
see signs, I think, now if you were
So
ruining them.
I
You're
hope
doing great.
so. I mean, I do. My children are very entitled, and I'm really trying to break that, but it's hard. That's a hard one for me.
Just not getting them what they want when they want it.
No, I do. I do it because I have so much mom guilt from working so much that I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do that. Yes, we can do this. My husband's actually the strict parent, which neither of us thought was going to be the case, but he's like the strict one because I have so much guilt. I'm like, okay. And I just, the time I get with him, I just want to like have fun and have it exciting, and I want to cuddle them and do all the things. So that's the hard one for me, is like I can see them feeling entitled or thinking things are normal. And I'm like, no. So I think in the next year, we're going to start doing like more mission oriented trips where we're going to like orphanages and we're serving food in soup kitchen. And they already do that. Like I have them do volunteer work. Since they were 3, they started volunteering and packing lunches for local kids in Frisco where we live. But that one's tough for me.
No one tells you about the mom guilt. Like I had never
No,
realized the amount of mom guilt I was going to feel having children and working,
a
because
hundred
when you're
percent.
working, you feel like you should be with them. When you're with them, you feel like you should be working. And it's
Yep.
just like a never ending guilt.
Yep. Forever and
But
ever and ever.
forever. I mean, it does get better. Mine are a little bit older. They're 10 and 13.
Yeah.
And now that they're older, they're much more independent and they don't want to hang out with me as much. So enjoy the
Yeah.
time that you have now. And the mom
Right.
guilt does get better.
Oh,
But
I
yeah,
hope
it's
so.
rough. It's rough.
Very tough.
You're doing great though. You really are.
Thank you.
I could just tell by listening to how you speak with them, and you
Yeah.
have intention. A lot of parents don't even have intention
True.
to, create really good humans. They just
So
send them off
true.
to school and expect the school to do it for them,
Yes.
So you're
Yes.
doing great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. So I want to also talk about like, what's your big vision, your big goal? Like you're still investing, even though you are extremely successful. So like, what do you see yourself going in the future?
So this one's hard for me because I think I'm in a metamorphosis right now. Like I'm coming out of a chrysalis, and yeah, it's a new moment for me. But before, the goal was always like get generational wealth, make sure my family is taken care of, financial freedom. That's great. But now I feel like I'm on a mission of impact. And I've decided that I don't really like the way the game has always been played. I don't like the rules. I don't like that it's always like old white men from like Wharton and Harvard and at the top. I think it's unacceptable that my daughters will have less opportunity than someone else's sons just because of the gender that they were born, just because of the color of their skin, right? And so for me, my goal is to create impact and diversity at the top, not at the bottom, right? Where we see a lot of people point to diversity. I mean, in decision-making roles and above, and to have there be so many women and so many minorities and so many people from different socioeconomic backgrounds operating at the highest level, that when my daughters are old enough to go out into the workforce, they think it's normal for them to be there. I want them to be so sure when they walk into a room that they deserve a seat at that table, that it is just normal for them. I don't want it to be exciting for them that they're doing something at the highest caliber, the way I feel a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh my gosh, there's a non-white woman, a woman of color at the top of her game, and that is so incredible. I want this to be like, yeah, okay. And so here are all these other women that are doing the exact same thing. That's my goal.
That's awesome. And I mean, you're already doing that by showing them that you're there.
Yes, but I need more women at the top.
Need more. Okay.
Yes, I need more. And that's what I tell my kids. I'm like, representation matters. It's important because if you see it, you can be it, you can achieve it. And so you need to be able to see the person who's done it before you so that you feel like it's possible for you too.
Yeah, I love it. That's an amazing, impactful goal.
Thank you.
So were there any really big mistakes that you made in the beginning that you learned from?
Many.
That you can maybe teach?
Many.
people who are starting now so that they don't have to make the same mistakes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many. We could be here for
Maybe pick
17 days and I wouldn't be
one
done.
big one. Maybe
Yeah.
pick
Okay. So the biggest mistake I made was actually not believing in myself and not being confident in myself. And it affected me in so many different ways. The first way it affected me was I allowed other people to dictate my value in a deal and ended up being resentful about it because I knew I was more valuable. Deep down, I knew I was bringing more value than I was being offered in terms of like the equity and the money. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I had never paid for a mastermind, a mentorship. I never paid for a VIP ticket at an event, none of that. And it was that's actually the single most expensive mistake I made. Because I always thought, okay, Veena, you pay for whatever this program is or whatever it is. And it's like thousands of dollars. Okay. At that time, there were very few that existed and all of them were like $40,000, $30,000. So it was not a small amount of money. And it was for 1 year. So I was like, okay, you pay 30 grand, you spend 1 year to learn about NOI and equity multiples. And I was like, I thought I was so smart. I was like, Veena, that's so dumb. You don't need that. All you need is Google University. You can Google NOI. And I was right. I did. I Googled NOI and I Googled all these terms and I went to like all these free resources and I gathered all of it. But I will tell you now I'm in those rooms because I'm invited into those rooms to add value, right? Like I speak, I teach, I help other people with their journey and I'm invited into those rooms. And ever since that started happening a few years ago, now I'm like, oh my gosh, Veena, you're so stupid. That wasn't the thing that existed behind the paywall. It wasn't the NOI. Like if you're joining community to learn what these words mean, don't do it. Just go Google it. You really can do that and it's free. If you're joining the communities or the mentorships or the programs, what you're getting is like-minded people around you who invested in themselves. That's the most critical thing you're going to get. You're going to find your partners there. You're going to find your moral support. You're going to find the people that'll celebrate your highs and hold you up during your lows. You're going to find the people who have contacts that you don't have. You have expanded your Rolodex. Like your contact list will 10x by joining any community, 100x. Because now if you're in the community with me and I say, hey, I have this problem and I don't know how to solve it, your experience might say, oh, all you need is a public adjuster. Here's Jared Watson. This is the guy I used and he's been amazing. Let me put you in contact. So now you're solving problems faster because money loves speed. If you want to make a lot of money, you have to move fast. And it's been something that looking back, has made me a lot of money, but has given me a lot of success because I'm not afraid to fail, right? This ties back to my kids. I'm not afraid to fail. So by the time the general average person is done analyzing the deal and gathering data points and making all of these decisions and then going and lining everything up, I've already tried it and I've already failed and I've already moved on from that failure to pivot. So that's how fast I move and I make decisions. So I make decisions with intentionality now. But if I could go back, I would have joined somewhere. It doesn't matter what kind of community, but I would have joined some kind of community. I would not have started one on my own because I didn't have the experience to really give someone the value that they deserve by being in a community at that time. But I would have joined one. I would have shown up. I would have attended more networking events. I would have made more intentional and deeper connections with people around me. And I would have I did keep going, but I would have kept going harder, probably and faster. And I would have figured out how to get comfortable in failure earlier on.
Yeah, it sounds like, yeah, it's an investment, the 30,000, but you make it back quickly just in relationships and time. Because
100%.
if you can shorten the amount of time that you can solve problems, like you said, that's worth a lot of money.
100%. I mean, it took me almost a decade to do my first multifamily deal. And Isa Fidelino, she's my official mentee. But she's also part of the Multify community. From the time she joined the Multify community to the time she did her first deal was 5 months. It took me almost 10 years to do this. It's night and day.
Right.
And it's not because of me. Everyone thinks like, oh yeah, but that's because she's your mentee. I barely coach her. She comes to me with the questions she has, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Here's what I've done for that. Yes or no. So that's like the extent of which she gets like special attention. It's not because of me. It's because of her, because she's in the driver's seat. She understands that she has to make it happen for herself.
Yeah. And I'm sure she's in touch with a lot of other people in the community as well.
100%.
So it's a group think, like everyone helps each other.
Yes,
That's awesome.
exactly. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. Awesome. So do you have, I don't know if I understand this correctly, but do you have like a fund where you do syndications and people can invest with you? And if so, how would somebody do that?
Yeah, so we do have a fund. We do have an equity fund, but we now focus more on direct assets because our investors just prefer it more. For me, I'm indifferent to which route someone invests through. So vivefunds.com, we have an investor portal. We accept investments from anybody that's an accredited investor. So we do a 506c raise. We're very, securities compliant. So we do ask someone who says they're an accredited investor to give us third-party verification. We take reasonable steps to make sure that they are accredited, but anybody could invest into one of our deals as long as we have room and as long as the investment's open. So if you go to our portal, you can register there. You can turn on email notifications. You'll get all of our communication when we do have a deal. And being an LP is super easy. You're just making an investment decision and then you're hands off for the rest of it. We handle everything else.
Yeah. Someone who's done $1 billion worth of acquisitions.
Yes.
She knows a little something, just a little.
A little bit.
Just a little. So yeah, that was vivefunds.com, correct? And for the fund. Awesome.
Yes,
so if anybody wants vivefunds.com. So if anyone wants to reach out to you like on social or ask you a question, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social platforms as Veena Jetti, VEENAJETTI. And this is actually really pertinent to your group, but once a month we do a leadership lounge series where it's been a panel of women, but men are totally welcome and they can join the discussion. A lot of men join the conversation as well. But it's like something we do where we talk more about like soft things, like soft skills, feelings, ethos, the relationship side. So we do that once a month, and you can join my free Facebook group, which is Mastering Multifamily with Veena Jetti. And you just have to answer like some questions and then it'll let you in. And you can always ask questions there. You can meet multiple people in there if you want to partner up with them. And I do respond to my own messages only on Instagram. Okay. So if you text me, call me, email me, Facebook me, anywhere else, you're not going to hear from me. You might not hear back, but if you do, it'll be from one of my team members. But on Instagram, as long as you're not spamming me, right? I answer all of my Instagram DMs.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being so available to people, for uplifting women, especially women of color. Like, thank you. We need more people like you out in the space. And I would love to help in any way that I can to, further your mission, because I think it is just amazing.
Thank you. Yes. And I appreciate you, loaning me your platform to share what I'm passionate about. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Veena. We love you.